FutureLearn and Royal Holloway University presents Audio Description in New Zealand.
I'm Nicola Owen. I'm a woman in my 40s, originally from the northwest of England. My ancestors are from England, Wales and Ireland. I've got shoulder-length blonde hair that's back in a ponytail and blue eyes. I'm wearing a black t-shirt, red cardigan and a pounamu or greenstone necklace, which is in a Māori design of a double koru or double spiral. So I'm a director and audio describer with Audio Described Aotearoa. I trained as an audio describer in 2011 here in New Zealand for the venues that are run by Auckland Council, which is our local authority here. And then alongside my partner, who's blind, I set up the company Audio Described Aotearoa in 2014 to broaden access to audio description across the country. So I describe live performances, including theatre, ballet, contemporary dance, chamber music and opera, some civic events like the Anzac Dawn service, and also run tours in museums and galleries. And over the last few years, I've been involved in training new audio describers and most recently describers fluent in Te Reo Māori, the language of the Indigenous people of New Zealand. So here in Aotearoa, New Zealand, we've had a bit of experience of describing people's ethnicity. For example, we recently described a show called Single Asian Female, produced by the Auckland Theatre Company. And this was a show celebrating having Asian actors and Asian main characters, and all of the actors' ethnicities were listed in the programme. So it felt really important to us we'd provide that information in the introductory notes, so the blind patrons had access to the same information as the sighted audience. Last year, in a show called Black Ties, that was a collaboration between Indigenous or First Nation artists from New Zealand and Australia, which was created by a team of Aboriginal, Torres Strait Islander and Māori artists. And so ethnicity in that was central to the piece. And so it really made sense for us to state it really explicitly in the introductory notes. Usually if ethnicity is important, we state it up front. And we say what the ethnicity is rather than relying on describing physical characteristics. And there's a few reasons for that. Firstly, it's not always clear, and particularly to people who've always been blind, what ethnic information certain physical characteristics are supposed to communicate. Secondly, Māori are Polynesian in origin, and in New Zealand there's also a large Polynesian population from places like Samoa and Tonga. So some of what people might think of as physical characteristics of Polynesian people might be common across those groups. And so it doesn't necessarily help you to make a distinction. But more importantly, there's actually a political issue in New Zealand that being Māori isn't dependent on how you look or what other ethnicities might be in your makeup. So if you have a Māori ancestor, then you can identify as Māori. So there isn't a simple set of physical identifiers that would determine whether somebody's Māori or not. It's also quite common that actors who identify as Māori would also state their iwi or their tribe in the programme, because that's an important part of their identity. So we'd also try to include that information into the introductory notes if it's been provided to the sighted audience in some way. So it's quite a lot about being respectful to the politics behind ethnicity and the way that's treated culturally. We also try to make sure if we're naming ethnicity for one character or actor, then we name it for all of them. So there's not just an assumption that European is the default. We've been talking quite a lot about cultural competency recently, and it's been really great being part of the bigger international conversations that have been happening. And we've been reflecting a lot, not just about how we describe performances, but also who should describe them. For example, we were recently involved in supporting audio description of two shows, one a kapa haka show or a Māori cultural performance, and another was a play called The Haka Party Incident, which centred around Māori activists. And so for each of these, as European describers, the two main describers that I work with are European, we decided we needed to step back and engage and train some Māori describers. And there's quite a lot of reasons around that. I think having that genuine cultural understanding of the performance is really important. So like I could describe what it looks like, but without an understanding of what it means, like the cultural significance and the particular semiotics or signifiers of the piece, I can only just tell you what it looks like. I can't tell you what it means. I can't unpick it in that rich way that you need to make it really make sense as an audio description. Language ability is also really important. So for the kapa haka, we had two Māori describers, one describing in English and the other in Te Reo Māori. So we ran two channels for that in Māori language and English language. So I know a little bit of Māori, but there's no way I've got the skills to describe in Māori. But also the cultural significance of the language itself. It's really right to make sure that people who are Māori get to speak it and get paid to do the work. And there's that recognition that they see their language as a taonga, like a treasure. And so it's not to just be picked up and used lightly. So it feels really important to get that bit right. And there's also that sense of authenticity. So people attending those performances came away saying they felt their experience was really enhanced by having Māori describers bringing a Māori perspective to it. And so I think, so for me, cultural competence sometimes is about knowing when to step away and, recognize that actually you might not be the person to do it. I think for me, the most important thing in this era where Black Lives Matter is really changing things, it's so important that we keep listening and learning and trying to understand and to bring accurate descriptions of ethnicity in a way that makes sense to a blind audience. I've been really excited because a lot of the arts organisations we work with, like New Zealand Opera and Auckland Theatre Company, are really changing a lot of their policies and practices. They're really trying to showcase the talents of artists from a wide range of backgrounds. And in some ways it makes our job quite easy because they're really upfront about it. They tell you we want this all to be Asian actors, or, we want to involve Māori actors or Polynesian singers. And so audio description then becomes part of them celebrating that. Put it in the introductory notes, make sure that people, the blind audience who are engaged with the piece, are able to celebrate that in the way that the sighted audience are. It's an exciting time to be a describer.
Royal Holloway University, supported by the Arts and Humanities Research Council and Vocalise.